welcome to the Crochet Cakes YouTube channel. My name is Clarissa and it is time for a reading shawl update. Now, to illustrate how long it's been since we've had a bookish update, I have a seasonally appropriate mug. Oh, we need some seasonally appropriate clothes. How's that? How's that? Little ghosty mushroom jumper, or actually cardigan. Now, as we were discussing a while back, I had the audacity of starting a project to track the books that I've read during, throughout the year. But, typically you're meant to update these projects as you work or finish or start your books, right? I have not done that, which is why today we have, okay, oh, we had to speed it up, okay, 30 books to add to our reading tracker shawl. Oh my. Clearly, we are not going to be able to add all those books to the shawl, but let's see where we're at. And also, I was supposed to have added Braiding Sweetgrass and Of Sword and Silver before, but I haven't. So let's do that quickly, and then let's go through the list of the books that I think we'll have time to add to this reading tracker shawl together.
And this is where we left off. Now, off screen, I had already started working on my Braiding Sweetgrass Rose. Braiding Sweetgrass is a book about indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teaching of plants. I'll link it for you down below. There are so many things to take away from this book, Braiding Sweetgrass, and I would like to share a little bit of that with you. This one is after she talks a little bit about the honorable harvest. As a nation, we are beginning to follow the guidance of our elders, the pecans, by standing together for the benefit of all. We are remembering what they said, that all flourishing is mutual. After braiding Sweetgrass, we take a little bit of a snacky break, and we are adding Of Sword and Silver, a book by January Bell. And if you want to hear my thoughts on the book Of Sword and Silver, then you can watch the previous reading wrap vlog, because I had a lot to say about that, and let's not rehash it. But I do absolutely love the color that I found to represent this book, so kudos to that.
Okay, so we've just completed the Of Sword and Silver stripe. Now we are ready to actually fully dive into all the books that I've read since the previous vlog. And actually I need to go grab that list myself because I don't remember them off the top of my head. All this to show you that I may be an unreliable narrator. Okay, so Earl Crush is the next color. Now, I've already picked up all my minis off screen because if not, we would be here for a very, very long time. Now, please track my face. Thank you. So for Earl Crush, we have this mini that I think works really well with the book cover. Now, Earl Crush was a reread for me, and If I'm remembering correctly, this book came out in 2024 and I did do an advanced reader copy through NetGalley. And even though Earl Crush was a reread, it was just as beautiful a read as the first time. I just absolutely love the Earl and Lydia as well. They really bring out the best of each other, and the Earl especially is just very supportive and protective, but in a not overbearing way, not in the, oh, you can't do this for yourself, so I need to do it for you kind of woman. But sorry, kind of man, but in a if you need me, I am here for you kind of man.
I found so many things to thoroughly enjoy about this book, not only the narration, but the characterization. Just, I related a lot to Lydia and how her fears kind of keep her from expressing herself in the world and from actually venturing out and participating in life. And of course, Arthur is just, he's such a marshmallow, sweet heart. And one of the things that I really like, one of the moments that I just like, yes, go Arthur, was when Lydia tells him, because he just caught her being dragged away from by a man that he doesn't know. And it turns out to be Lydia's brother. And he says, he tried to remove you to a place you didn't want to be, brother or no, he deserves what he got and more. And it's just like, go Arthur.
It's considerably later in the day. We've had lunch, we've completed the Earl Crush, and we're having chocolate cake. Okay. Why do I always take a bite right when I need to talk? Next on our list to make for today is watermoon. Now for watermoon, I do have a little mini skein that I need to wind up. It is blue with little stripes of a maroonish purple, a lighter mauvey pink, and darks and lighter blues, interspersed with sparkles yarn. Watermoon is, it truly feels like a fairy tale. The story is written by Samantha Soto Yambao. It's the first book that I've ever read from her, but I'm pretty sure she has some other books that we can read, and I might just try them. I really enjoyed the writing style for Watermoon, and it just felt so magical. Nothing was as it seemed in this world. And at the end, no spoilers, just gonna say I really enjoyed reading it. I believe I read this book right before we left to Japan in May, and I liked it so much that I gifted it to Mom so she'd have a book that takes place sort of in Japan while I was traveling in Japan. Okay. Did I just mess this up? Mini skin goddesses, do not abandon me now. Did I mess up? I'm just gonna skein this. I'll be back. Alright, so we were going to start and talk about Watermoon a little bit. We're gonna set it all up so you can see me, I can see you, and you can also see the project the project I'm working on. Boop boops. So the premise of Watermoon is that we have a young Hannah, I believe she is 21 years old, and she is set to inherit her father's pawn shop. Now, this is not a typical pawn shop. You don't pawn your possessions, you pawn your choices. Actually, more accurately, you pawn your regrets, you know, the choices that you made that you regret and you kind of just want to not have in your life anymore. We need to pause all this. I need to do the contrasting stripe. Poops. All right, now we're ready. Where were we? It's a pawn shop where you pawn your regrets, okay? But this pawn shop cannot be found by just anyone. It's only found by those that really need it by entering through a ramen shop. All right. And at the morning of her 21st birthday, I believe it was, when Hannah, our heroine, is set to inherit the pawn shop, she wakes up to find the pawn shop ransacked and her father missing. She sets out to solve the mystery of what happened to her father and the missing choice that's been stolen.
There were so many parts of this book that I thoroughly enjoyed. This was an audio loan from the library, and talking to you about this book is really making me realize that I think I'm gonna have to go purchase a hard copy. It's just gonna be one of those books that I probably reach for again and again when I need to find a little joy and a little magic in the everyday life. One of the quotes that really spoke to me, of the many that spoke to me, is happiness does not exist in a place. It lives in every breath we take. You need to choose to take it in over and over again. Okay, I was just going to share one quote, but I really can't resist. I'm going to share another one. There is nothing to be gained from stealing other people's happiness. No matter how much you have stolen, it is not something that you can ever use for yourself. And with that last thought-provoking quote, we are ready to leave the beautiful magical world of Watermoon behind and enter magical midlife madness.
Good morning. Just wanted to say that yesterday I literally only showed you my tea and the mini skeins that we were going to be using for the Magical Midlife Madness series. I didn't actually do any crochet, but we're going to remedy that today. We are going to crochet at least 3 mini skeins of the Magical Midlife series into our wrap.
Magical Midlife Madness is a series written by K.F. Brain. I think the series has a total of 11 books, and relatively-ish standalone. Like if you've read the first book, you can kind of find your way around some of the other books. I read this series because Mom and I exchanged books for Mother's Day. So we gifted each other books that we had greatly enjoyed, and we started reading them on the same day. Now, Magical Midlife Madness, it deals with a mundane woman, so a woman with no magical powers, who all of a sudden finds herself inheriting a magical house, and that imbues her with magical powers. So each book in the series is about her learning a different aspect of her magic. And so far, I've read 5 books. And I don't know if you've read this series, please tell me if you have, but I just find the characters to be very, very endearing, and that kind of pulls me more into the story than the actual storyline itself. Does that make sense? What sets the tone for your weekend? Do you kind of set the tone for your weekend on a Friday evening or on a Saturday morning? For me, it varies. This particular Saturday, we set up in the guest room, made a little nest, treated ourselves to a tea tray. This is a pot of London fog, and it was so beautiful. Granted, I woke up extra early, which is why there's practically no light in this shot, but it was just felt so hedonistic. I'm not going to call it self-care, but it definitely was there with I really enjoy doing this, so today we're going to take extra special time doing this thing that I enjoy. And of course, our marvelous tea, because it was delicious, was paired with some early morning crochet. I'm currently adding book 2 of the Magical Midlife series to the reading wrap. This is Magical Midlife Dating. And in this one, I found Mr. Tom, which is the gargoyle, butler gargoyle, extra hilarious.
Hello! I know it might not look it, but we are once again in my bedroom. The walls are a different color. Husband and I just finished painting it, and that is the reason why I can't keep crocheting. My hand really hurts. And I mean, I did wear wrist supports while I was painting all this week, because first we had to paint it white to get rid of the, in my opinion, for my tastes, I'm just not a huge bruised purple person, and I've been living with the color of this room for quite a while, so I'm super happy that we got it painted. But now I am listening to my body. It requires wrist rest. So let's grab a book and let's read for an hour. I'm actually going to continue on my fall TBR reading list, and it's the second book in the Her Majesty's Royal Coven installment series. Thought we could read on that together, but first I need to make myself a little nest. Let's go. Okay, my camera is flashing at me, but I just had to tell you that we finished the 30 minutes. We started reading together at page 15, and now we got all the way up to page 48, and we're starting chapter 6. I'm having trouble getting into this second book of Her Majesty's Royal Coven. And I've noticed that that is a pattern with me when book series are actually continuations. They're not standalones. Like, you can't read each book as a standalone in the series. I have a lot of problem getting into the book itself. And that's happening to me right now. I think it's mostly because the book starts out from the point of view of one of the characters that comes out in book one, and she was mostly dead, not entirely dead, and now she's comes back to life. I'm not going to tell you how because that kind of spoils the ending of the first book, but I'm not into it. I want to keep giving it a chance, so I think I'll probably get to page like maybe 100 and see how I feel about the book then, because right now it's really not gripping me. And it's not because the characters have changed. Like, our three main characters are still the same, and they are all going to be going through their own different things that are driving the plot forward, and I am interested in that aspect of it, but one of them is a character that I have no interest in. And so when it comes to reading passages from her point of view or what she's experiencing, I'm just like skimming. Does this happen to you? Which do you prefer to read? Book series that are standalones, that you don't actually have to have read the books that came before to understand what's going on in the series, or books, a series that are continuations, like you have to have read the first book in order to catch on to what's going on in the second and the third book. I'm trying to think of any series that I've read that is not a standalone where I've actually enjoyed every single story, and I think we may have to go like all the way back to when Harry Potter was popular when it first came out, because I started reading that series 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I read 1, 2, 3. And I think my least favorite book was The Prisoner of Azkaban, and it wasn't because of the plot, because I greatly enjoyed that one didn't deal with, he who shall not be named or whatever. It was the way it was told. I find that when books deal with time travels, not all authors can handle that topic well, and I just did not. Alright, there's going to be a glaring difference in audio quality and video quality. Sorry, my camera just died on me and I wanted to finish my thoughts. Right, so I was just talking about time travel and how not all authors handle it well, and to me, that third book in the series, I just didn't feel that it was handled that well. Like, it was very confusing to read at the time. Now I read it and I kind of get more of a gist on it, but at the time it was just super confusing. Anyway, that is it on the shadow cabinet. Not right now, I'm gonna go continue some other crochet work because I'm filming one tutorial and one vlog at the same time that I'm filming this. So I'm gonna go do more of that work, but I hope that you enjoyed your 30 minutes of reading with me, that you yourself got to read for 30 minutes, and do let me know what book are you reading, and please let me know how you feel about series, standalone versus actual series that you have to have read the books in order. I'm genuinely curious if I'm the only one that always struggles with the second book in a series. Right, let's go do some other work. I will leave you here for now, and I'll probably be back tomorrow with a proper goodbye and wrap up on our reading scarf, wrap, shawl, whatever you want to call it. Are you ready for a wrap up? I hope so. I hope so. So, several things to wrap up with this reading wrap or reading shawl. I'm actually winding up the next skein for our reading wrap, and the one thing to point out that I think I mentioned in the video itself, but I also wanted to reiterate here, is that I had this little contrast stripe. I started making it like at the end of every 3 books because I was reading about 3 books a month. But then I thought, let's just do it at the end of every month. So after we complete a month of reading, we do the contrast stripe. And when we picked this up back again now in September, I was like, maybe the contrast stripe should be every time we complete a book or every time we do a book series. And the series that brought that about was the Magical Midlife Madness series. I didn't want to break up the books in that series because I thought that would be a little confusing to future me, for posterity. So from now onwards, I'm going to be doing a contrasting stripe every time I finish a book or every time I finish a book series. I've finished all the books that I've read in the Magical Midlife series so far, so I did a contrasting stripe and I am now going to be starting my Ursa Dax series. Now, I'm not going to be starting from the very beginning of this series because I read the first 2 books last year, 2024. So I'm going to start the series from book 3, which is Resisting the Alien Bull Rider, and we've got our little skein wrapping up right here. So from picking this project up again, I think that long-term projects are not for me. I need projects that I can start and finish in at most a month or a month and a half, projects that consistently call for me to keep up with them. And I've realized that projects that I classify as long-term projects, I just tend to shove them to the side and work on them in little bursts of creativity. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just noticed that I attach a lot of shame to not tracking or not working on a stripe of color every time I finish a book. And that's not the point of this project. The point of this project is to have fun and to do a visual recording of all the books that I've read throughout the year. It's not to shame myself for, number 1, not having read enough books, and number 2, not keeping up with the book tracking. That is not the point, okay? So I know I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in using projects to shame myself or compare my progress to other people, like, oh, so-and-so is able to pick up this project every time they finish a book. And you know, if you're able to pick up a project and actually consistently keep track of them, like tracking your mood, tracking the temperature, tracking your emotions, tracking any of that stuff, if you're able to consistently pick up a project and do that, I am genuinely very, very happy for you. Like, I think that's amazing. I am not that. So I have been working through some feelings on this project of shame, really, and how instead of making this project be fun, I'm using it to just yell at myself for not keeping up with it. And we shouldn't do that, okay? Hobbies are hobbies, and you should never shame yourself into thinking, oh, I should be working on this project, instead I'm starting a new project. No. Okay, if you want to start that new project, you start that new project. If you started a tracking shawl or a tracking blanket and you realize it's not for you, don't shame yourself into finishing it. Instead, challenge yourself creatively into thinking, okay, am I interested in finishing this? Or if I'm not, what can I turn this other thing into that will keep me interested for years to come? So let's say that you really want to track your books, but you realize that you are only reading 1 book every 2 or 3 months. Don't shame yourself for that. Instead, challenge your creativity and think about maybe working up blocks of book progress, you know, like every year you do a 12 by 12 square because you managed to finish 12 books in a year, so you do your 12 by 12 square, and then maybe at the end of 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're gonna have a blanket that commemorates all the books that you've read during those 5 years. There's no shame in that, okay? I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful that we express ourselves through yarn or through journaling or any way that we express ourselves. Like, we shouldn't feel shame for what we actually are able to accomplish, okay? So I wanted to leave you with that little note, and I feel like I got a little heavy there. I mean, we were tracking some nice cutesy romance novels, and all of a sudden it got heavy. But you know, books, reading, anything that challenges our creativity, anything we use to express our creativity will always take us on a journey. And every time we approach maybe the same book, we can have a different experience with that book because we're in a different part of our lives. We think differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with not finishing book series or books themselves. That doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means that that book is not for me at this time. So yeah, thank you for joining me on this little vlog journey. I do have a lot of more books that I want to catch up on this reading shawl. I just think reading or tracking projects have so many possibilities. So if you yourself feel inspired to start a tracking project because of watching this video, do not hesitate to share it with me. I want to cheer you on. If you want to chat books, hi, I am 100% available to chat books. You can send me an email, you can comment on this post, you can post on a community post, because now you can post on the community tabs here on YouTube, so you can post pictures there of the books you're reading. Share, okay? Let's build a community based on kindness, sharing, and cheering each other on, okay? So sending you a big hug and wishing you some very happy crafting. Bye!